Yo, what is going on, everyone? I'm back with another review video. It is going to be on my Gamesense Sonar. Thank you so much to Gamesense for sending this out. I think this one is one of the more tasteful designs. It just, doesn't say super on it. I think this is a pretty cool design. I really like it. Just a small little thing is on the bottom of the pad. I hope I don't bang it. It also shows the design as well. I think that's really cool. And then let's just get right into the review. So first off, I want to talk about the base of this pad. It's actually really good. It has not moved once. I think that my desk, at least for the glass pads that I've used, is pretty bad. I'm the only one out of all of the friends and reviewers that I know that my Skypad has moved, my Super Glide has moved, but the Sonar has not moved at all on my desk. That is very subjective. I don't know why my Super Glide moves at all. I don't know why my Skypad moves, but the Sonar, at least for me, has stayed completely fine no matter where I put it. So it's really useful. And then it's also like pretty difficult to move up, at least for me it is. So hopefully it won't be moving around on anybody else's desk, but that is just something that I do need to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about are these rounded edges. A huge, just amazing thing that I love. It's rounded all the way around. So at least on my Skypad, the edges typically have irritated my arm, but thankfully because the edges are rounded on the Sonar, I don't have that issue at all, and it's just really high quality. It's honestly just really nice to even look at. I really do like the whole aesthetic of this pad, but yes, the edges are perfectly rounded. You don't have to worry about it hurting at all. You don't have to worry if you're like all the way over here or something and you're just like hitting your arm. You don't have to worry about that. Now talking about the surface, this is easily the slowest glass pad that I have tried. And it's definitely slower than a Skypad. Honestly, just way slower than a Skypad. You can tell just from the glide, like it's just not as fast as a Skypad is. And it's not as fast as a Super Glide, but it is kind of honestly like a more controlled experience, at least from what I have used. I feel like this is a really versatile glass pad. I'm able to use this in Valorant. I'm able to use this in Apex and Overwatch if I really want to. I think it's amazing for tracking, though there is a massive issue. If there's any dust, it like scratches on my feet. So that is just going to come with obviously just having a microfiber cloth on hand and just wiping it or just using your arm. It's really not that big of a deal, but it is very noticeable when hair or dust get on it. The Super Glide didn't have that issue for me, but this pad, it's a major issue with dust and hair. Talking a little bit more about the surface, the initial friction is really nice. The dynamic is very fast and incredibly smooth, and there is actually some stopping power, which I really like. I feel like it is slightly faster than when I received it, could just be in my head, but I do feel like there is a ton of stopping power on this, at least coming from a Skypad and a Super Glide. There is more control in this pad than both of those. It's not as slow as a Serapad Kin, which honestly, I like this pad more. The only benefit that the Kin really does have is the carbon fiber base and also the size difference. That's really going to be the two biggest differences between this pad and the Serapad Kin. Just in terms of performance, I like this pad much better than I do the Kin, mainly because, like I said, the Kin is a very slow pad. If I am going to use a Serapad, I'd much rather use the OG. That is easily like one of my favorite hard pads that I've ever used. The only issue is just the stickiness with the OG, but this pad has no issue with stickiness in my opinion. I feel like it's really easy to just go ahead and use without a sleeve, and I'm one to usually always use a sleeve with hard pads because just I live in a much more humid environment and my arms tend to sweat, especially if I come home from the gym. I just get like some sweat even after like showering. It's kind of weird. Like my body temperature just stays really heated after that. But I don't feel like if you have no issue using, or if even if you wrist aim, I feel like you will have no issue using this pad without a sleeve. I just think that it's like one of the more versatile hard pads because of how good the coating is. It is really interesting that they went with a slower glass pad approach, but I do suppose that all of their pads are on the slower side. The Rush is a pretty slow hybrid pad. The Radar is like one of my favorite control pads, but it is very slow. So I guess it is kind of in line with their pads previously that they're just going for a more controlled route. Now doing a comparison of, I feel like the only true competition to this pad, I get it, the Padsmith Empress hasn't come out, but right now, as of recording, this is the only pad that I feel like it's true competition, and there is two big differences with this pad and the Sonar. The biggest thing is the speed. You can see that like I can spin it way more on this pad than I can the Sonar. I'm gonna carefully do this so I don't damage the surface. You can see that it's like just not as, oh, I can't really do it full force. I'm gonna have to hold it. You can tell that it's just like not as fast. There is like a hair of more control on this. And the Super Glide doesn't suffer from lack of control either. When I first got this, I do feel like it's a little bit more controlled than than a Skypad, but it's definitely still really fast. The nice thing is it also feels a lot like the Sonar, at least to my skin. I don't feel like I'm going to need an arm sleeve. Obviously, it would just make it a lot better for me, mainly because my palm over here just always catches, especially if I have it on the pad, which I usually use it for more control. So it is a lot more difficult for me. So I usually have to have an arm sleeve that brings it up to here. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my goodness, what arm sleeve could possibly fit those arms of yours, my dude? I just use a cloth one. They come in various sizes. Cloth arm sleeves, at least for me, have just been so much easier to use because they're a lot more elastic than spandex is, and the Under Armour one that I showed in my last video. So I do prefer like really elastic cloth arm sleeves if I'm going to be using a glass pad. And the next difference is going to be the base. I have been told many times that this is the best glass pad base that people have used, and I'm just going to take their word for it. Like I said earlier in the review, it slides on my desk, but I think that is just a me thing, and I'm perfectly fine with just believing it's a me thing. I don't care that much. It barely moves. It does move in use for me, but it barely moves, not enough for me to actually hinder the pad or care about it enough. And from everyone else I have talked to, it doesn't move for them. So I do not care. I'm just going to chop it up as my desk sucks and it doesn't move. But the Sonar, in my opinion, at least from my experience, because the Super Glide moves and the Sonar doesn't, I'm going to just say from my personal experience, I like the Sonar base better. I also do just really like the Sonar in general. These two pads are easily like my favorite glass pads. The Sky Pad is cool and all, but it's $120, and the Sonar is going to be much cheaper. Although you cannot get this design anymore, the Sonar is going to come in at just $90. So it's a lot better of a deal than the 120 from SkyPad. But if you want a faster experience, I would get a Super Glide coming in at 95. So really, both of these pads, performance for me and overall quality, I like them both much more than the SkyPad, but the SkyPad is made in-house, so I get why it costs more than both of these pads. But yeah, that's pretty much all for the review. Thank you so much to Gamesense for sending out this beautiful pad. Again, love the design. I love the quality of it. I think that this is probably the best quality glass pad out right now that I've tried, mainly because of the edges. Like I said, they're just beautiful. And then this is probably my new favorite glass pad at the very least. I don't mind if pads are more controlled. Like I said, I can get used to it for any game. I like control pads. That's where I started. But yeah, the only other pad that I can really see rivaling the Sonar is just going to be a Super Glide. They're like right at each other. Like they're basically like right at the same level of... Oh, there. They're basically right at the same level of my love for both of those pads. But I really like this one. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next review. Peace.